In 2014, researchers at the University of Virginia found that 67% of men and 25% of women preferred to administer electric shocks to themselves rather than spend 15 minutes alone with their thoughts. This is not a metaphor. They chose physical pain over mental stillness. They knew it hurt. They had tested it and rated it as unpleasant. Some shocked themselves up to 19 times. The study, published in Science, was replicated in several countries, with the same pattern: a preference for discomfort over inner silence. The species that once built cathedrals in silence can no longer tolerate a quarter of an hour without stimulation. Something has changed, abruptly, irreversibly. A researcher at the University of California, Irvine, documented that it takes 23 minutes to regain deep focus after a distraction. Asurion studies in 2023 recorded that the average user checks their phone 96 times per day, once every 10 minutes during waking hours. Each check resets the focus timer to 0. The math does not allow for sustained thought. The system is designed specifically to prevent the mental state that historically generated everything this species considers valuable: philosophy, science, art, literature. Each of these disciplines required prolonged concentration without interruption. Yet the contemporary environment systematically eliminates that possibility, not as a side effect, as central function. 200 years ago, writing a letter required preparing ink, finding suitable paper, sitting down deliberately. The format imposed a pause between impulse and action. Now that temporal friction has collapsed until it is indistinguishable, thinking about someone and communicating that thought happen in the same neurological second. No one measured the consequences before implementing the change. Adoption preceded understanding. 3 billion monthly active users on Facebook, according to Meta reports in 2024. 1 billion hours of video consumed daily on YouTube. Platforms designed by teams of engineers whose metric of success is time spent on screen, not user satisfaction, user retention. The difference defines the system. Zen monks train for decades to sustain attention on a single object for prolonged periods. They consider that capacity the foundation of all deep understanding. The Digital 2024 report by Anthropological records a global average of 2 hours and 23 minutes per day on social media. 72 hours per month consuming content deliberately designed to be processed in under 3 seconds per unit. The brain processes but does not retain. It undergoes constant stimulation without the construction of lasting memory. Dopamine without narrative. The difference with substances traditionally classified as addictive is legal, social, and commercial, not neurological. Both systems exploit the same reward circuits, but one is called entertainment, the other disease. The categorization depends on who funds the research. During the 2020 pandemic, adult screen time increased substantially, according to data from Nielsen. Locked in with themselves, people chose digital mediation over direct experience of their own minds. Netflix gained 36 million new subscribers in the first quarter of global lockdown. Streaming platforms reported record growth, not because content was exceptional, but because silence had become uninhabitable. An entire generation is growing up never having experienced deep boredom. Adults hand over devices in restaurants, waiting rooms, cars. Any potential pause is preemptively filled. The message to a developing nervous system is unequivocal. Being without external stimulus is a dangerous state. Incorrect. One's own unoccupied mind is seen as a threat, not a resource. Common Sense Media documented in 2021 that 45% of American teenagers report anxiety when they don't have access to their phones. 72% feel the urgency to respond immediately to notifications. The last and first conscious experience of the day for most people is digitally mediated. The transition between wakefulness and sleep, historically a moment for autonomous mental processing, now includes mandatory external input. Researchers at the University of Sherbrooke discovered that university students consistently underestimate how much they will enjoy activities without technology. Anticipation generates anxiety. Actual experience, evaluated in hindsight, is satisfying. Yet this empirical knowledge does not modify future predictions. The bias repeats every time, as if two systems operate simultaneously within the same organism, one that experiences and another that decides, without sharing information between them. The gap between what we fear and what we live remains constant through repetition. Learning does not occur. Records show humans systematically avoid states which, when they experience them by accident, they rate as positive. They drive with mandatory music, run with headphones, eat while watching screens. Every interstice of the day is filled preventively with external stimulation. Silence is no longer the absence of sound, but a void the nervous system interprets as an emergency. Hospital waiting rooms install screens transmitting constant content. Airports eliminate quiet zones. Gyms consider the absence of music a service failure. Each public space has become a zone of compulsory stimulation. Choosing not to participate requires economic investment. Noise-canceling headphones cost hundreds of dollars. Meditation retreats, digital detox cabins with no Wi-Fi. What was once free and universal is now a luxury product. Apps like Calm and Headspace generate hundreds of millions in annual revenue by offering guided stillness. Boredom, assisted by a professional voice telling you exactly how to do nothing. The tech industry created the problem and simultaneously markets the solution. Spotify allows users to remove silence between songs through perpetual cross-fading. Users actively configure the eradication of pauses. The negative space where the mind processes what it hears is now seen as a technical flaw to correct. John Cage composed 4 minutes 33 seconds of silence in 1952. The piece consisted of not playing any instrument during that time. It sparked scandal and reflection on the very nature of sound. Today, it would mostly provoke a change of app, not because it holds less artistic value, but because the perceptual apparatus has mutated to reject what was once its natural state. The species that for thousands of years found in stillness the necessary condition for thought, now experiences it as an intolerable void that must immediately be filled with something, anything. What was once a resource has become a threat. Inner silence, once a starting point, is now a destination to avoid. No one decreed the change. It simply happened, and continues to happen, right now, while this is being heard.